Hello and welcome to Xena Warrior Podcast. My name is Vera, and I'm joined as always by my two symmetrical co-hosts, Katie.
That's not true.
And Livy.
One of my eyes is bigger than the other, like by a little bit.
I have a freckle on one side of my face that I don't have on the other.
Wow. You guys are very honest.
Well, it comes out in every photo.
Okay. So this week we are talking about 2:15 A Day in the Life only, and that's because it's like the worst episode of Xena maybe ever.
I hate it.
Yeah, a whole episode needs to be devoted to this.
Everything about it is
Disgustingness. Bad. So, how do you ladies feel?
This is the number one voted best of all time episode.
Is it actually number one?
Surely it's at the top of most.
It's greatest of all time.
I mean, I think everybody here would put it certainly top 5.
Oh, yeah.
Do you
top
know
10, top 5.
Top 5.
The acronym for greatest of all time is GO.A.T. Which
and
is
there's a lot
episode.
of them. There's like multiple
So it's
goats.
like they know. They're like, we're the greatest. Here's a goat. Here's another goat.
I definitely would put it in my top 5 for sure.
For sure.
Yeah.
Because it's that terrible.
Yeah. So let's talk about it, huh?
Yes.
This one's written by R.J. Stewart and directed by Michael Hurst. It is his first episode of Xena.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm directing it, yeah.
Cool.
So let's talk about his directorial style. How does it compare to some of the other directors we've seen?
Well, it is certainly different. I wouldn't call it his style, what you saw in this episode. This is more specific to what the episode
requires
is itself, yeah. Which is more like documentary, and intimate, one might call.
Eyebrow raise.
Yeah. But to be perfectly honest with you, Michael Hurst has developed into one of my favorite directors of all time in terms of TV. In terms of the Ren Picks kind of shows that we've seen him do. And if you want a lesson in directing, don't go to film school. Put on a commentary of Spartacus directed by this guy, and he will teach you how to direct. It's crazy.
They're so good. He's really in depth about every choice.
Every shot.
Yeah.
He discusses. It's nuts.
Awesome.
It's amazing. And later in Xena, he will have one of my favorite episodes of season 6.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Is that You Are There?
No. He's in that. I don't think he directed that. No, to Helicon and back.
Yeah.
He directed To Helicon
Yeah, bitch.
and back.
Yeah, fucking bitch.
Wow, that's a biggie.
Yeah.
It's huge, and I love it.
Well,
so
I
much.
do think, I don't know if you can chalk it up to him being an actor himself, but there is just a wonderful kind of looseness, in this episode. You feel that all the actors are incredibly comfortable, and I think that speaks to a high level of trust on set. And I like to think he had something to do with that trust.
Yeah, and also several, really great behind-the-scenes videos exist of this show, long ones, very informative on the process. Mm-hmm. One thing that I definitely picked up that was just really kind of amazing and awe-inspiring is that the way that they do their table reads, which is basically a workshop of the episode where they come up with, they take the script and then they just workshop the hell out of it. And they come up with all sorts of new lines and just...
They question everything, I think, in a really impressive way, where by the end of it, every line is there because the person who's going to say it feels like it makes sense for the situation, which I think is so important.
Yeah,
I wish everybody did that.
For sure. Yeah. That's why I love a collaborative set. That is the ultimate. And clearly this show was very collaborative. Mm-hmm. And it shows in the final product.
I think A Day in the Life especially, you're seeing an episode that really feels written towards the actor's strengths. It's letting Lucy be Lucy in a really fun way, in a way we've never really seen on the show quite to this extent. So to me, this really is a product of the fact that this is, mid to late season 2, and at this point, everybody knows each other really well. They're a family.
Is this episode also a product of, we have to not have as many fights or whatnot?
Yeah, I think
Lucy?
this is action light for Lucy, and their
Which is crazy,
final
so
act, their action set piece, is left over from Giant Killer.
That's right. Yeah, we will get to that.
That's why it only took them 5 days for this
Yeah,
one.
but also the fact that it was that kind of documentary style, which means handheld camera, which means you don't have to spend time putting it on the sticks.
Yeah.
Saves everybody a lot of time, made them get their days done early.
That's also really incredible because it seemed like the entire episode basically is on location. So to do 5 days.
Except for the campfires. And
yeah, that's
stuff.
true. Okay, we had a few. Shall we get to it?
Yes. Well, I guess the point of this episode is it is a day in the life of Xena and Gabrielle. Mm-hmm. And it's supposed to be like, let's see them do all the sorts of mundane stuff. Like, number 1, waking up.
They literally mean it. A day. We're going from morning till night.
Exactly. Yeah. So it starts with a really fun title card. It's just half in Greek and then translated to English, waking up. And you have like the classic goon POV. They're going to attack sleeping Xena and Gabrielle.
Well, I love the opening shot. It was very Evil Dead-esque. Like, you call it a POV, but it was almost like more of a monster POV because it's so low.
Goons are monsters.
So low to the ground. It just had that forest, like, shaky crawl over the ground. Like, bad thing is coming.
It reminded me a bit of TJ as well.
Mm-hmm. Which, he would have done from Evil Dead as well.
Xena wakes up to fight them off, but she does not have her weapons at hand. She grabs what's nearby.
A mistake.
Well, it turns out, yes, huge mistake on her part. But it is a frying pan.
And Gabrielle is asleep. She's asleep this whole time.
Yeah, it's classic Gabrielle, fast asleep.
This is probably the most extreme example of Gabrielle sleeping through something.
But I mean, previously in the watermelon attack.
That's true. That was actually the exact same opening for an episode.
Yeah. And Gabs was like just fast asleep.
It's funny that we say like Day in the Life is an episode full of things you don't usually see, because this opening scene is a scene we've seen.
Yeah.
So they're kind of easing you into those little surprises.
A little bit more extreme, I would say. So Xena starts fighting the goons, and there's some great ad-libs immediately.
She's taunting them a lot, and I'm very happy to be doing so. And also later in the scene is like, I'm not really awake yet, but it's just very, having a good time, being like, oh, you're so good to that one guy.
But I loved how she was fighting that guy with the pot, and it was like, want some breakfast?
Yeah.
That was
There's
ridiculous.
some
That
line.
was my fave. I wonder if it's when she's not really awake yet, hasn't had her coffee, she's actually more into lines.
Oh no!
And then when she calms down,
she's monotone Xena that we know and love. I love that she does the kind of sword flip with her wrist, but with the frying pan.
With the frying pan, yeah, that's a great shot.
Really cool.
So then the goons are clustered around Gabs, and it actually was kind of scary.
Yeah,
I was worried for her.
I mean, so was Xena. So she's like, Gabrielle! But Gabrielle does not wake up. She has to stomp on a water skin, splurt her face with water to wake her ass up.
Then Xena finally chakrams the goons, but instead of the chakram, she has a frying pan.
That was also genius.
I loved seeing the frying pan shot the same way as the chakram. It was very witty. And that felt very day in the life. We're talking about mundane, the stuff of every day. So instead of, the magical weapon, she throws regular old frying pan, and it dies.
At Gabrielle's feet, and she is so pissed about it, you guys.
Yeah, she's pissed, but meanwhile Xena is putting the pinch on a dude, so you have this really funny disparity between pinch going on in the foreground and Gabrielle fuming about the frying pan in the background. It ends up pulling Xena away from interrogating the guy with the pinch, which is funny because he's got 30 seconds to live.
Yeah.
And 25 of them are these two women arguing about a frying pan.
Sort of the greatest part about it is that he knows full well what the pinch interrogation is like, and is just okay, I'm ready to tell you everything.
Yeah, come back here. I'm going to talk. You just come back here.
This is the first time this has happened, right? That a goon has already known about the pinch, and they've kind of made light of the "you have 30 seconds to live"
think so, yeah.
line.
A lot of
this starts
poking
happening
fun.
more. Yeah, I mean, this episode's full of kind of people lampshading things that we take for granted in Xena. Yeah. All the tropes.
It's funny that this is 3 episodes after Destiny, where the pinch was sort of the Xena learned about the pinch, and we saw how deadly it actually is and how horrifying it is to watch a guy die from it. And here, it's made light of with this guy, but also Gabrielle is just really desensitized about the whole thing and ready to do it herself.
Well, here, let's get in it. we must first talk about their yelling. They're fighting about a frying pan. And the infamous, would we call it infamous? Or classic?
Both?
Line where Xena's talking about how fighting gets her juices going. And Gabrielle's like, can we cook with your juices? So I just think that this episode is it's an episode where, like, you see them doing stuff that you haven't heretofore seen them do. And you don't see stuff like this, I feel like, a lot currently when you have, like, 12 episodes in a season, because you don't have time for a whole episode that's just about people doing randomness.
Hanging out.
Yeah. So that's number one. I love that. Number two, between the end of the last episode and this one, they got married. Should we talk about that?
Yes.
Not only did they get married, they like fast forwarded, and now they're an old married couple.
Yeah. I feel like 6 months have gone by, at least. Yeah. We ended, I feel like, the last podcast by talking about how they have started perhaps having a physical relationship.
Oh, yeah, we had a pin.
We did. So let's unpin the pin.
Unpin the pin.
If you're going to talk about this episode, it probably is one of the biggest early on that really goes all out with the subtext and the innuendo and all that. It's very texty, I feel, in this episode. And yeah, I just feel like the reason that we said that at the end of the last one was because you have the both of them coming to these really intense revelations about where they are in their relationship.
And how much they mean to each other.
And how much they mean to each other. And then, if you want lines in this episode to make sense and not just be funny random things people say...
She likes what I do.
That's right.
Is a very important key line.
Yeah.
That needs to make
sense. This episode revolves around it.
Yeah, it for real revolves around it.
I also just feel like this episode, suddenly we're privy to this aspect of Gabrielle and Xena that we've never seen before. Mm-hmm. Just this, kind of bickering and, seeing them do things like go to the bathroom.
Oh my God.
And it's like when, you start a relationship with someone. Suddenly you see them in all these new contexts.
Suddenly they do number two.
So, yeah. I mean, when you first start living with someone, suddenly they kind of open up this whole new dimension. And I think this episode kind of does that for you, the audience, for both Xena and Gabrielle. And I feel like that's reflecting, the new relationship. You're kind of being led into the intimacy, so to speak.
Yeah.
I dig it.
Yeah. There's a little less, I don't know if you want to call it hero worshipping on Gabrielle's part. Now Definitely. She's just hanging out with this person who she's in love with, who's also mean sometimes and whatever.
Yeah. Well, that's it's nice to have the contrast of, Gabrielle who knows Xena so well that she's not really in awe of her anymore versus later you'll meet Howard and Minya who are both, absolutely just worshipping at her feet for a while. And you see how far Gabs has come. She's not really that little awestruck girl anymore. She's just able to bicker, which is a sign of love and equality.
Well, this episode has a plot technically. Besides just showing 42 minutes of cute Xena and Gabs, the goon that she put the pinch on revealed that the warlord Zagreus, who Xena had previously ridden with, assuming 10 years ago.
Sure.
He's got nerves of mush. I forget. That was a line later. I was like, why were you riding with him? He sounds terrible.
So he is going to attack this village called Piedmont. And soon they're going to come across this guy, Howard, who's from this village, Laurel. And that village is going to be attacked by the giant Gareth, the old nemesis of Goliath, Xena's former friend.
Sure.
Giant friend.
In your favorite episode, the giant killer, Vera.
I love the giant killer, okay? If this was number 2 on my list, giant killer's number 1. So Xena and Gabrielle have to kind of decide who to help.
I love that Gabrielle wants to draw up this very business pros and cons list.
It made total sense. That was a legitimate thing to do.
But also it's super cold. You're do I want to save these people's lives or these people? Which would be more efficient,
Were they cons, for her own self? like how they would affect her personally? No.
That's a good question. But also
methodically examine the needs of both villages and determine where we can do the most good.
See, that seems
That
logical.
has a reasonable quality to it. Not like, this one's too far away for us.
Yeah, and then Xena just flips a coin, and it's like, what if she chose the one that had, like, the least pros?
Well, of course, the correct answer is to try and help both.
Yeah.
Of course.
And I also enjoy the implication that they've done this before, that this has happened to them several times, at least, that they've had to make some kind of decision or save two things at once.
Yeah, it's sort of calling out the fact that, you know, the way an episode of television works is that they go along the road, they meet someone with a problem, and then they go and solve the problem. So it's kind of nice that you see, wow, it's actually a lot messier than that. Like, sometimes we have to pick, like, which problem to solve. Yeah, I feel like that's immediately making this feel less like your typical episode. You see that that is very absurd as a version of reality.
So our second title screen is called Finding Your Way, and it's Xena and Gabrielle kind of at a crossroads of sorts in front of the statue of Demeter in the woods. And they don't know where to go, how to get to this village, Piedmont, because at first they think that that's all they're doing.
I love that Gabs leaves a flower at the statue of Demeter. Like, it's a moment of devotion, which is, again, a fact of everyday life for an ancient Greek woman that you wouldn't see. It's like there's Gabs doing her religion, just in this very, like, by the way.
I have a question. The statue, like, had babies and stuff. So, like, what is the statue supposed to represent?
I mean, Demeter is Persephone's
I don't know anything
mom,
about this stuff.
She's the
and
harvest.
she's the harvest god.
Harvest.
But
So-
there could be some fertility.
No, I think she is. So she's like
fertility and
She
harvest.
should not have done that.
Uh-oh.
Perhaps. Perhaps it was a mistake.
Put a pin in it. Oh my god. So here in front of the statue, Gabrielle's really annoyed at Xena because it's like classic married couple fight on a road trip. Why didn't you ask for directions when you had the chance?
They're
Xena?
so married. It's gross.
It's really
Oh my
gross.
god.
She's like, well, why didn't you ask that guy for directions? And Gabrielle's like, well, I didn't think you would want me to interrupt one of your pinch interrogations. And Xena just like casually is like, why not? You ask good questions. And Gabrielle is like so moved by that.
She's so proud and happy.
And so she immediately jumps to the next time they see anyone, she's going to put the pinch on him. And then Gabrielle's going to do the interrogation.
Look, she's really excited.
So this is where we see and meet this guy, Hauer. And so he's coming from that village, Laurel.
When Gabs goes to put the pinch on him, Xena pulls her back by the hair.
She does a lot of yanking.
Yeah.
By hair, by her boobs.
Yeah, by her boobs. Like,
By her boobs.
By her top, the middle of her top.
Her very small top. And just gives it a pull, and you're like, that thing's just going to come flying off.
Yes,
Well, at this
please.
point, she probably knows how to, do that. She knows how to, pull it correctly without having it
And
come
how
off.
to make it fly off, too, is what you're saying.
That's what I'm saying.
What she's saying.
So Hauer is me when I see Xena, which means that he's immediately like hard eyes emoji.
Mm-hmm.
They play this music on the soundtrack whenever he hard eyes at Xena. This sort of French accordion music. I think Lady and the Tramp over a spaghetti music.
Yeah, it's weird. It reminds me of Amelie. But yeah,
this all
it's
fits.
the French
all these sort of
love.
quaint, romantic, yeah.
He lays out the dilemma that his village has about the giant. And so the next title card is number 3, Making a Decision, which is where we had our coin toss versus Gabrielle's long list of pros and cons.
And this is kind of contrasting Xena and Gabrielle's ways of doing things. Like, Gabrielle likes to think it through. She's kind of a cerebral person, and that makes sense with her being a writer. And I love that Xena is just super impulsive about everything. Like, she wants to fight with whatever's on hand. She's not going to go for her weapon. That's no fun. She makes decisions by flipping a coin. She's an improviser, the whole way through.
Yeah, this is actually mirrors both Lucy and Renee as
people,
actors and people, which is
the overthinker.
Yeah, exactly.
And the person who just wings it.
Yep.
Yeah, I think, again, this is what I'm talking about when I'm I feel like it's sort of written into this episode. This is an episode for the actresses. It really understands them. So you feel like a lot of their arguments this episode are sort of about, no, we need to plan and prepare, versus Xena being no, what are you talking about? It's all just going to work out.
Yeah. I think Lucy even says stuff to that effect about this episode, that you really do see a lot more of her and Renee in this one. I think she was talking specifically about like the faces she was making fishing and stuff like that, but it's definitely true.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely see, like I said, there's just this level of comfort, you know, that they're both willing to be really silly in a way that I think you can't be unless you're with a close friend.
Parts. So the coin toss means that they're going to Howard's village to fight the giant, presumably.
And hopefully he has some frying pans there for Gabrielle, who will not stop harping on the frying pans. And Xena does not want to hear it. She just does not want to hear about it. And
this teaser ends with this, like, really insane, ridiculous wide shot of them, like, butt kicking each other.
Yeah.
And then there's an iris wipe.
Sure.
Yeah, an iris out.
And that's the fucking end of the teaser, and the credits go, what?
It's very, like, Looney Tunes.
Oh, yeah. When we pick back up, it's the fourth title card, and it's traveling.
And they're playing 20 questions, and they're totally fine with each other. So the great thing about the way they are in this episode is not just that, like, they're fighting, but it's not serious fighting until a little later in the episode. So you have this, like, bickering, but then all of a sudden they're just playing games and being ridiculous.
I also just really love how it's a very clear, like, transplant of what you do in a car on a road trip on the highway, like all of this stuff.
It's, ask for directions.
Yeah.
You pull over for the pit stop.
So great.
Don't make me pull this car over.
The 20 questions game is very continuous.
Through the whole episode almost, which is nice. It's a nice linking mechanism. You could almost call the 20 questions game like the A plot at this point. Occasionally the B plot, which is otherwise known as the plot, like intrudes, but for the most part, like the linking thread through the next 20 minutes of action is this 20 questions game.
So it's a mystery. The audience is just enraptured. Who is she talking about?
Oh my god, I think she's cheating.
Oh,
it's
no.
not someone she killed.
You don't know that yet.
I mean, is it okay that Xena is joking about a guy she murdered?
Yeah.
That's like the object of this game.
Yes, it's fine.
We'll get to it a little later. Definitely put a pin in it.
I think it's fine. I have a note here that says so much arm and shoulder grabbing, which I feel is important to point out.
Oh, yeah.
Because
that will continue forever.
Because every time she was like, is it this person? Xena would be like, no, and then grabs her shoulder.
Yeah, they'd grab each other. It'd be like, is it this? Grab you to shake the answer out of you. No, shake the answer out of you.
In the last episode, I had a note that said all they do is arm caress now.
Yeah.
Right.
And I just feel like this is like there's something that happened at the end of that trilogy between now and
did.
Yes.
We know.
I know. And we just need to make that clear. Watch it from now on.
It's very clear, and it really, like, that cracks it. It makes the line in this one legit.
Yeah, because
Everything
otherwise
makes
this
sense.
episode doesn't make any sense.
Well, it makes
They're
sense.
behaving so differently here.
Well, that's the thing. I think this episode is a really good, like, recruiter episode, so you can just show it to anyone, and they'll see that, and they'll be like, oh, this is just, like, in the middle of their, you know, love affair relationship.
I want to hang out with these adorable ladies. Yeah.
And they're totally gay with each other. It's fine. They're in lesbians. It's wonderful.
You just know that Rob Tappert's message to the writer's room for this episode was just, be more gay. Be more gay. Be more gay. Everybody be more gay. The Be More Gay song.
Beautiful song. Beautiful, beautiful. So just, I guess, let's step out onto the terminology terrace and say...
Is that next to the problematic jar?
Yeah.
Or does the problematic jar live on that terrace?
Yeah. So I think that we obviously are just like sitting around having conversations with each other. It's very easy to use gay as an umbrella term for the two of them. So that's probably going to be happening a lot. By no means are we erasing Xena as bisexual or anything like that. It's just kind of...
We erase Purd, though.
we're gonna erase Purd a little bit.
Very bi. She has a very problematic male type that she goes
she
for.
really
And
does.
It's amazing. Our problematic jar is represented by her problematic boyfriend.
Yeah.
So, very problematic.
It's perfect. You just said problematic like 8 times. This episode, for all of its sort of goofiness and its like insistence that it's just a random day in their lives, it has a ton of continuity. Take, for example, the 20 questions game, where you have all these name checks of various guys Xena has killed in earlier episodes. And, you know, obviously a lot of mentions of the giant killer and mentions of Callisto.
Yeah.
And, like, it's hard to think of an episode that doesn't get mentioned in this episode. So I really like that this episode is actually very up on its continuity. And it's very much like being like, look, these characters have gone through things. And they have a past they can refer to and play around with.
I wonder if there's an audience member who was watching this, like, actually trying to crack it as well. Like, playing along with the 20 questions.
I mean, what was really fun was, like, the first time I saw this episode, I was like, who are any of these people? And even the solution to it, I was like, hello?
How dare you?
I know you'd be mad at me for that, Vera. I won't spoil it right now. This time around, because, you know, we've taken such copious notes for the podcast, I, like, recognized all of them.
Your fave Dagman.
I was like, oh, yes, and Terry.
Yeah, all our fave guys.
All the goons.
Yeah.
Hall of Fame of goons.
Well, playing these 20 questions at this very beginning of it, it was really interesting how, I mean, I think you just brought it up, and, you know, it's like a pin that I want to unpin, about how it's like nonchalantly a discussion of all these people Xena has murdered, which at this point is 58 people.
Ah, the count is back.
Yeah, the count is back.
And I think it's doubled since we last did the count.
Yeah, it's been a while.
What does the count is being very explicit about it's Xena now. So it doesn't count anything in the flashbacks.
No, it's specifically after Sins of the Past to now.
Yeah.
If you counted, like, what she
No,
did
I know.
before,
I was just making
it would be like a bajillion.
No, I know. Like,
six figures.
On screen. Just clarifying that it's not just what's on screen, but it's like Xena in the present. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, speaking of violence, the other running gag throughout this episode is Gabrielle trying to hit Xena.
Take her by surprise.
Yeah, take her by surprise. So this is the beginning of that, where she swings that staff and nope.
This close.
They're so flirty when they talk about that.
You were this close because I let
but
you
also,
get this close.
Oh my god.
They're being flirty. The camera's being flirty. They're right in each other's faces.
It was epic.
Yeah, and the camera's in their faces. Yeah, it's very intimate. Yeah, they're doing close talking, a la Seinfeld, at each other, like, constantly and for no reason.
But Xena's starving.
Xena's tummy is rumbly. She hungry.
This is so relatable.
The noise is so loud. To me, it sounded like a volcano was gonna erupt.
Oh.
She does not joke about food. She's hungry. She did not have breakfast. So they go to a nearby creek.
I love the detail that Xena has to put up her hair to fish.
I love that too. And also, I love how that looks on her.
Yeah, it's really pretty.
It looked really, really good. So she's standing in the creek up to her thighs. And she got the hair up. And she's like listening to the water.
And Howard's like, doesn't she need a fishing pole?
And Gabs with this like, I don't know. It's not condensation, but she's just like... Oh no, that's much too conventional for her.
Did you just say condensation?
I didn't.
Katie is speaking with a little bit of condensation for you, Vera.
Don't worry about it. That part's going to be cut out.
Okay.
Xena asks what kind of fish Howard wants.
Trout. She can like hear the different
She
fish.
knows, yeah. Oh yeah, that's how Rob does fishing too. Just FYI. So she's like, trout or perch? And he's like, trout. And Gabs wants salmon because she's stupid.
She's trying to fuck with Xena.
It really gets Xena's juices going. She was like not into it at all. So Gabs changes it to eel.
I mean,
I don't know her
I was
decision.
so tempted to try to figure out, you know, subtexty, like, you know, the same, like the oysters versus, what is it, clams conversation from Spartacus. I was like, what genitalia are these? What's an eel? What's a salmon?
What is a salmon?
I don't know.
It seemed like she was like fucking with her more.
No,
it
she
seemed
was
like it was
definitely fucking with her. And the eel seems harder to catch.
Yeah, they're
so long.
slippery.
Yeah.
Yeah, which turned out that they were live eel that she was trying to catch. And it was like really gross.
Yeah, this is the whole part where Lucy is quoted talking about how disgusting, like, everything smelled, how ridiculous it was to do all this stuff. So when she's making all those silly faces, that's just her trying not to just break down laughing at the situation. Yeah. So that's just her making a bunch of faces, which I love as an element of Xena, because you don't get to see that often, like her just completely being ridiculous.
Yeah. And you feel like it's part of some private joke, you know, Gabrielle ordering off menu and Xena throwing things at her. This felt very much like something they must do on the regular.
Yeah.
And that's why Xena was sort of cracking up in the foreground, because, yeah, it's a fun game.
Xena across the water spots these wagon trails, and that's clearly Zagreus's men trying to, you know, cross this river. And so she starts feeling bad about her fucking coin toss situation and now wants to save both villages.
I loved the way this was done, with the plot just suddenly appearing in the middle of this goofy scene. This whole episode is a bit like this, where you'll have just like a scene about something funny and seemingly not related to a larger plot, and then in the middle of it Xena will like clock something that like puts some thoughts together related to the plot. The plot is not important to this episode.
No, it's really not.
But
that's why
like,
when later it kind of takes over, I sort of lose interest
that
slightly.
Is only for about 5 minutes.
5 minutes. 5 minutes tops. And
Then
it's
it gets you
probably
back.
the stuff
Don't
that's
worry.
just the giant.
Yeah, and I think it's very
there.
clever. Like I said, the plot is the B plot. The A plot is hanging out with your friends.
Yeah.
Which is great. It's often on television the opposite. The B plot will be something sort of goofy and more mundane, like to lighten up the A plot.
Yeah.
Like to switch it immediately feels so much fun, because what it really means is you're not watching for the cute little revealing moments. You're living in them with the occasional moments of, oh yeah, something's
happening.
Okay, well, back to the cute moments. So this is Xena throws the eel at Gabrielle, and that's funny. And then Howard asks if Xena ever thinks about settling down, getting married. And then the fish comes flying.
Right in the middle of Gabrielle answering his question. So she says, no, she likes what I do. It's not interrupted, but it is like the fish lands in her face.
Timing.
Like the timing
amazing.
of it is perfect, so
Fish
that she
in
can
the
then
face.
go back and say she likes what she's doing,
Which is the real line.
which is the actual line. So Renee came up with that line and was like, I want to say this. I think I should say this. And everybody was like, yeah, say that.
Totally say it.
And it's in the episode, and it's a thing of pure beauty.
Yeah, it's like one of the greatest ad-libs of this entire show.
And the fact-
most important, maybe.
I mean, they didn't have to keep it in.
Yeah.
Like, they could very easily have used a different take.
It was like the first take, too.
Yeah.
Right? But it just, everything about it was wonderful because it was done once, and the timing of that fish was
gorgeous.
just perfection.
Yeah, I think almost like if they had any doubts about including it, the fact that it turned out as well as it did, that's almost like you have to
It's
use
one of
that.
those things. Yeah, it's like they have no choice.
So Howard's like, maybe she just hasn't met the right guy. And the entire audience is like, LOL.
I just like Gabrielle just trying to humor him and like, anything's possible, Howard. Like, okay.
She's the one for the sensitive chats, remember?
Right.
She's always the one having to
This is also-
make the guys feel bitter.
Yeah, this is also that's like the part that's cutting to Xena making just the most absurd faces as she's catching more things to continuously throw at Gabrielle.
If you ever are on YouTube in a Xena spiral, you should check out the raw footage, like the outtakes of this, because there's like
You can see every single
like
take.
14 times she gets the fish lobbed at her.
Yeah.
It's just funny as hell.
Yeah, she was saying she just like it was all like stuck all over her and disgusting.
Right, well, she has that great, I'm sure, also kind of a little ad-lib where she flicks the scales off her neck. And you can see there really are fish scales there. So, like, I love that she makes it part of the scene. That's acting.
It's so good.
Another great little disgusting detail is when Xena comes back from fishing and sort of puts her muddy feet up.
Yeah, I love
you
that
see the
too,
muddy
yeah.
soles of her feet, which is, again, a really wonderful raw detail you've never seen in Xena before. You have to, like, remember that season 1, you know, you just wouldn't see Xena, like, always as this beautiful, untouchable sort of warrior princess figure. Like, it's crazy that a year later we're, like, seeing the bottom of her muddy feet.
And she's taking a shit in the bushes.
Yeah, and she's taking a shit in the bushes. Yeah.
I loved that detail too. Just because also I just love the way she sits down like right next to her. It's just so comfortable.
Yeah.
Like they're just so comfortable sitting there kicking her feet up. Like
And she's just so satisfied, and she just loves fishing.
she loves it. I wrote they're so gay and married.
That is
That's
correct.
my note.
It is very true note. Truth.
This conversation that they have here about Howard, I thought was great to see on the show. You haven't quite had the show call out the fact that, that there are boyfriends of the week, and it's annoying. Mm-hmm. Like, I love that Xena and Gabrielle are, like, commiserating over this. Like, oh, God, I have a boyfriend of the week this week. Oh, not again. Like, that's how we feel. So it's nice to see that they feel that way, too. But also, like, just having them kind of goof off about, like, how attractive Xena is and how often men, like, throw themselves at her. That to me felt very real. That felt like two friends being like, LOL, what can I do to be less attractive to men? Yeah, wouldn't that be great? Har, har, har. Like, it just felt like a thing that, like, shows often don't say, like, look, my lead is really beautiful. Like, she knows it. Like, it's kind of like a faux pas to talk about. And I like that they talk about it.
Yeah, the blue eyes and leather.
Yeah, she jokes about, stopping bathing and wearing a wolfskin instead.
Or wearing chainmail. But that would attract a whole different crowd.
Yeah, and if she wears the wolfskin, Gabs won't travel.
She will not travel with smelly Xena. She won't do it.
Oh, gosh. There are some episodes where she kind of gets really smelly.
Right now, they're both being pretty polite to Howard. Like, she takes that flower from him. And all that stuff. So
honestly was like, girls, you do not have to be so nice
politeness.
To this man. Yeah.
I know.
I also find the whole assumption that, like, one of them has to do something about him, like, annoying. Because I was like, he should do something about himself.
Right.
I think we'll get to the Howard character dissection a little bit later. But speaking of dissection, the next shot is close-up of the eel being decapitated by the chakram.
And they restrain themselves. The eel does not scream.
Oh, right, because it was screaming when it was flying out and hitting Gabs. Oh, no. But Xena is so mad when she sees the chakram being used this way.
This is upping the ante in their war about the frying pan.
Yep.
It will continue to be upped.
And we also find out that Xena previously threw their best cutting knife at a warlord. So, like, this is a continuous thing. It's like,
back.
Maybe she wasn't as mad about the cutting knife, but now this is another thing. So you can see, like, her increasing frustration at losing all of their cooking tools.
They could get another knife easily.
Sure, yeah.
Xena sends Howard to deliver a message to Zagreus, message being to not get in her way.
It's like reverse psychology.
Yeah, exactly.
She lures him over.
Next title card, A Call from Nature.
Ooh, it's a good one.
You get this really wide shot of Gabrielle next to Argo, really intensely rehearsing / creating her, barding.
I love seeing this insight into her creative process. Yeah. I was like, whoa, she like acts it out. That's so cool. It's like interpretive dance.
I wonder if this is a reference to Steve Sears, I believe, who like once he writes the script, he reads it in everyone's voices.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
it could be.
I think that's what happens.
I love that idea that it's a reference to a particular style of a particular writer.
Well, it's funny to see Gabs do it, and I also really loved the grass, the wheat field or whatnot.
It's a beautiful wide shot. Yeah. And it's great because you see it first from a great distance, and you're just like, what the fuck is she doing? And then eventually you figure it out.
So like animated.
Yeah, I mean, it honestly looks like she's doing some kind of weird like religious ceremony again because she keeps like gesturing up at the sky.
So she's writing about the Bacchae also. Maybe that's
also another reference to a previous episode, like making, that like really tightly knitting that backstory so that you feel like Gabrielle and Xena have a lot of history.
If I didn't know better, I would think that this was like a new writer who was like, I watched the show.
Yes.
Look at how much I watched it. Here are all these references.
Classic sign of a new writer. She figures out what she's going to write and she goes to get her scroll, but the bottom chunk is just missing. It is torn off.
Yep. She peeks over Argo's back.
Love that shot of her head.
Great little shot of her seeing something truly awful.
I mean, this is next level.
Xena comes out all satisfied from the bushes.
Yep.
And Gabrielle is mortified.
She used her scrolls as toilet paper.
That's a deal breaker,
That
lady.
is breakup. They should get divorced.
That's it. That is the end of the relationship right there. I'm sorry. Like, Gabrielle is the patience of the saint. The fact that they survived this episode. I'd be out of there so fast. I can't believe she
But
did
there
that.
were no good leaves
In the bush. There were no good leaves in the bush. My favorite line. What? There were so many bushes around. Not one
not
had
where
a
she
good
was.
leaf. Xena used the part that had not much writing on it.
Not much.
Not much.
Deal breaker.
Doesn't Gabrielle carry, like, empty ones?
Yes. How else would she write more? It's so mean. It is so mean. It is, like, really, honestly, like, unforgivable. I feel like in bittersweet, like, right at the end, Gabrielle should have been like, oh, by the way, you keep using my scrolls as toilet paper. We need to sing about that.
Third musical just based on how many times
That
Xena
bad.
used the scroll when she pooped.
This is what you think
an
about
equal
my
problem.
skills as a writer. This is what you think of me.
No. Xena wasn't thinking about her at all. That's the thing.
Oh, no.
I guess it's important to point out that this is kind of amazing that you have a show where two women are the stars and you just had a scene about one of them pooping. Like, that is kind of important.
There's so many good things about this show. It's insane.
Later episodes will definitely, like, up this.
Yeah, but this is the beginning. This is the beginning of it really saying, like...
beginning of her needing Pepto-Bismol.
You know, this is a beautiful woman who poops.
Yeah, that's right.
We're actually very close to introducing another recurring great female character on this show in the next section.
Mm-hmm. So the next title card is Giving Directions. And we're back in front of that Demeter statue, and Gabrielle has put up a sign pointing to the village Laurel for the giant. Mm-hmm. And she's worried that she spelled it wrong.
But giants can't spell.
Neither can Xena.
Yes, she can.
She can't even read.
Yes, she can. She just doesn't read Gabrielle's
Wish actually
scrolls.
has a note that all the Greek is wrong.
Oh, I'm sure.
On the title cards.
I'm sure it is.
So this show can't spell either.
Wait, are you saying this show is not accurate about all things Greece?
Maybe I'm implying it.
Anyway, this is when she pulls her by the top.
Oh, by the boobs, as you called it
Yeah.
before? Skillfully pulls her by
Yeah.
the top. They arrive in Laurel, and there's nobody around. There's some goats.
And Gaps complains because this looks like every other village they've ever been in. Which
is
again
true.
is like kind of like the show parodying itself, being like, yes, we know we have like a standing set for villages. And this is it.
Here's our one castle. Here's our village shot from afar.
And here's the character that you were talking about, Katie. It's Minya.
Yay.
She is what I would say is like the first fangirl that they meet. She's a
For
Xena
sure.
fangirl.
She's holding a goat, which makes her awesome immediately.
Yeah. And she's like, what's it like to travel with the hottest warrior in the butt-kicking biz? She wants to know if she sleeps in the nude.
Yeah. Wouldn't that be your first question?
Well, if you're a true fangirl, you'd be like, we've seen Xena asleep and she's never in the nude. So
But Gabrielle says, well, da-da-da.
that's true. I'm not sure what was going to come after that well.
I don't know, sometimes.
Sometimes. She likes what I do. Sometimes she just falls asleep afterwards without putting on her leather armor again.
Anyway, I like this version of Xena fan meta.
Yeah, what ideas do you think it's trying to like put across? She doesn't seem to really understand that Gabrielle exists. She calls her by the wrong name.
Yeah, Mariel.
Which is weird. I wonder, what is this saying? Yeah, about the fandom.
Oh, do you think this is some kind of intentional thing? Well, I know that, like...
I'm not sure precisely. I feel
I
like
don't
there's
think-
something there. I mean, this is one of the only episodes where you have both Hauer and Minya, like, sort of boy fan and girl fan. Boy fan is in love with Xena. Girl fan is more complicated. I don't think the show clearly understands its girl fans very well, because I don't think Minya is very representative.
See, this is where it kind of... I mean, this episode's huge in terms of subtext, but I personally was a little bit annoyed at where Minya went.
By what I said earlier, I meant that she exists within this universe and not, like, later, well, they'll have the same actress play a actual fan of
Xena.
Xena.
Plays a fantasy.
Yes.
I
know
like a in-universe person who appears who is a fan of having heard about Xena.
And can
That's what
recite episodes from having read the scrolls.
Right. To be clear, we're not talking about send in the clones from later. This is specifically Minya fangirling right now.
Exactly.
I feel like she just represents like what the normal, like everyday people represent, which is they tend to focus on Xena. And
almost
Gabrielle's
as like
sidekick. So
and like for Minya, she's more of like a role model. Yeah. And then when she looks to her left and sees the effect it's having on her hubby, she's like, oh, wait a minute.
Right. So here's where I was a little bit disappointed because I was like, oh, they're representing, like the guy who's in love with her, whatever, that's normal. And now they're showing like a fangirl, maybe a lady who's like into her. That's not Gabrielle, you know what I mean? Like to represent the fandom or whatnot. Also, it would have been really funny to see this, like, maybe... I didn't get that they were married, but I guess they are, this married couple. Well, she says boyfriend. No,
she says boyfriend.
So there you go. So you get this, like... So it's not even, like, a sealed deal. So she could clearly break up with him. And, thankfully later, it is remedied. But, like, right now...
By that, you mean she broke up with him?
Yeah, and went to a much better...
It is remedied, is your way of being like, a relationship broke up.
For many reasons. Number one, Howard, no. Yeah. She should... really break up with him immediately.
Minya can do so much better.
So much better. Oh my god. She's settled right now, but she could do so much better and truer to herself, let's just say. Anyway, I wanted to see two sexes being into Xena, basically represented by this couple.
Yeah, they didn't quite go there.
But they
went to so many other places.
Yeah, I don't know, yeah.
They were so close. It started off so promising. She's obsessed with Xena.
Yeah, and I think that's what keeps me from saying that they're actually meant to be like a reference to fandom, because it's not a very accurate one.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't even know if I was trying to say that it was a reference to fandom so much as I just like a fan person existing of Xena.
And also it's like really confusing because later she does end up in that episode about fans, specifically about the fandom. Yeah. So,
but like I really do think she's a fun character, and they have this thing where they set up like, oh, her boyfriend immediately falls in love with Xena, who's just like, oh, you have these shots of her like later where she's like getting out of the shower or whatever, they're getting out of the bath, slow-mo. But like Minya is like, she like is always very confident in herself, even when she doubts herself, which I think is like the best thing about this character. And she like is raring to help and like really is just like, I'm strong, tell me what I can do immediately.
And she says she can read, which is something that Xena can't do.
She can't read, Vera. She just doesn't read Gabrielle's scrolls.
I would love if there had been a subplot where like Xena claims not to be able to read, and that's why she doesn't read the scrolls, and eventually it gets like found out, and it turns out she can't.
She's been lying
for all these years.
But anyway, Minya, in her efforts to help, or like, what can I do to help you concentrate? And Xena's answer to how I can concentrate is to get in a hot tub with Gabrielle.
Guys, it's been established Xena's weakness is hot tubs.
Yeah.
So, of course, this is where she would go.
That's where I can be my true self.
But this time, she has Gabrielle in there with her.
So this is a staple of the program.
Starting here.
Starts now.
I have this really great quote from RJ about this moment, and he goes, "By the middle of the second season, everybody was hip to the subtext rumors, and anyone who wanted to squeeze a little subtext into the show was welcome to do so, up to a point. The first time I did it consciously was this episode. Mm-hmm. I was thinking of having them take baths in separate bathtubs, like the movie cowboys used to do, after the cattle drives. Then, as I was writing it, I put them in the tub together. It seemed so right." It did, RJ. But that's really interesting. I was like, yeah, you would see them in the two little tubs.
That would have been cute also.
But at the same time, it's like
cute.
We've seen so many hot tubs already in this show. Yeah. It's like their hot tub set. We gotta reuse it.
There are so many ways I feel like this could have gone wrong, but it probably is to like Michael Hurst's credit. It's sexy in a way, but it's also mostly playful.
Yeah, I mean, sexy in the sense that it's these hot ladies who can't help being how they are in a tub together, but they're not doing anything, and they were specifically instructed not to do anything. sexy, not that they wanted to. So they have like funny things, like the first shot is Gabrielle, like, I guess she's sponging her back, but it really looks like she's sponging her hair.
She is.
And then later they switch, and then Xena like scrubs the inside of her ear with the sponge, and there's like a squeaky noise.
Yeah.
And, I mean, you
cute.
compare it to like Howard's POV of Xena, like with her wet hair.
I think it was also Minya's POV.
Okay, you're right. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. Oh, that's the point where she does like see him looking.
Yeah, that's right.
But this where you really have a sense of the male gaze, our favorite, and like here in this scene with the bathtub, you don't have it. Like it really is just these two women doing their thing, and obviously it's very insinuating, but at the same time, it's not trying to be.
No, it's not trying to be. And the scene is like one take, and it's constantly hilariously interrupted with Minya trying to be really helpful and bringing in more hot water, dumping it on them.
Is it too hot? No, it's just right.
That's enough, Minya.
And that's basically what we're saying. It's not too hot. It's just right.
Yeah. But so was that male gaze.
Well,
that was just right.
They're kind of having like a good conversation too while all this is going on. Gabrielle's talking to Xena about like she doesn't have to be original all the time in every single fight. This is also the sensitive chats.
Right. I love that Gabs feels she's going to be the one who's going to have the chat with Howard, because she always does. And, we've often talked about Gabs as the person who sort of understands feelings and has to deal with them on Xena's behalf. And it's fun, again, to have the show call it out here. And also kind of calling out the original fighting, which obviously, like, the show itself always needs to have Xena doing something new in a fight scene, because that's how television works. It's like, what haven't we had Xena do? So it's nice that actually Xena in this episode is almost like the producer, who's like, what can we do? What's a new and cool fight scene?
I thought it was just really interesting how, like, it makes more sense to do what works. Like, it worked to do the helmet trick with Goliath and like hit him in his nose, Achilles heel situation. But she's like, no, I don't want to do that. I already did that. So for Gareth, like, she just has not come up with the idea yet, and she's really frustrated about it.
Which again feels a little bit like a metaphor for writers. How do you write that scene at the end, in the climax? What can she do that she didn't do in the previous episode? Like, it feels like a conversation.
But it's weird, because it's like, but why can't they do what works? Like, why can't, like, I know that they came up with a reason.
If you've seen it already, then you don't want to see it again.
You see it again, but it's a different way, because it's a different guy, it's a new episode, it's fine. I think it's really cool that she has to, like, concede and be like, okay, fine, we're going to do that plot with the mirror.
Right, well, she can't exactly play with people's lives like that. She's not there to just keep herself entertained, which is kind of her argument. Like, no, I get bored if I do that. Yeah.
So she, like, is like, okay, Minya, collect all the mirrors in town. We're going to do
Gabs actually does it. Gabs gives Minya the order, which I thought was great to see Gabs taking control of the mission for a moment. Not something you often see.
Because Xena's floundering about it, not to use a fish metaphor.
And at this point, they are equals, know? Gabs isn't the assistant. If she thinks there's a good plan, she gives it.
What's the plan for now?
She's sitting on the soap.
That's right. She was wondering what that was, and then they splish splash.
That's their favorite activity. Splashing.
Yeah.
I love when they do splashings.
Howard comes back, and Xena sends him off to deliver another message to Zagreus, which I actually don't remember, but who cares? Gabrielle is like, hey, Minya, this is a really good frying pan. Want to trade?
She needs her food, all right? Like, and she needs it to be good.
They need food, because they ate that fish raw.
Loves food.
Sushi's delicious.
Good food.
Eel? Raw eel? Actually, no, you cook eel. Raw eel's weird.
It's still swimming upstream.
Yeah.
That's what she said, right? Next title card is Practice Makes Perfect. And you have this great shot of Xena in the barn, and she's like...
What's she doing in there?
Doing a meditative bucket kicking.
To be perfectly... All right, listen.
I don't know what it is.
This is a jump, but to anybody who's seen the show, I believe she's doing stuff she learned in China.
Oh, she's doing some China stuff.
Well, some stuff. That's all to get her to do this split kick, knocking over 2 buckets of water at once. I guess she practices all her crazy stuff.
Which is true. We have never seen her practice ever. So It's nice to know that she can't just bust out with these things.
Yeah, she does work on it.
She's been practicing
and
all
maybe
those
she has to like
moves.
limber up. Maybe she does some stretches before she gets on the battlefield.
Yeah.
Gabrielle still cannot get the best of her in this scene.
She tries yet again
to hit her.
Is this where she jumps from the roof?
No, she tries to like hit her with the staff here, and she missed.
This is also where finally she surrenders in the game of 20 questions.
Yeah, she's so frustrated, and she's like, "Just tell me the answer." And the answer, of course, being Theodorus,
your favorite,
which kind of is cheating. She cheated,
right? Gabrielle is like that. Is not fair because Callisto killed him. And Xena's like, oh, but she was in my body. That is a little bit of a cheat.
That's a cheat.
But then again, the show loves to confuse their identities. It happened like in the Xena Scrolls that one time. It's a thing. So I like that it happens even in this game of 20 questions.
And I love that this whole episode was about Theodorus, technically. That part where she's like, is he fat? And Xena's like, no. Is he buff? And she's
Vera's like, yeah.
Xena's like, So there you go. Theodorus, my love.
Your favorite goon.
He lives on. We're back outside, and Minya has Xena's whip. She's kind of bad at using it.
Right, she whipped herself in the face.
I would as well.
Yeah. Everybody's first whipping usually turns out that way.
And Xena's really pissed about it because this was like a trade that was made without her knowing.
I just realized they are married because their stuff's all communal. Like, it's the frying pan. Like, Xena's whip.
Same bank account for the dinars.
They did not sign a prenup.
Same bed later. What?
Put a pin in it.
But I love how Minya's like, I traded fair and square. The frying pan's yours. Like, the whip is mine. Frying pan's yours. Power is mine. She's yours.
Minya understands. Minya gets it.
Minya, thank you.
But again, I'm very uncomfortable that this whole, like, awesome lady and just having this, like, annoying, jealous feelings about Howard. He does not deserve this.
Well, maybe Xena's romantic advice, we only see a glimpse of it, which is that Minya gets the Xena makeover. But maybe, like, what the real Xena makeover would be is turn yourself into a woman who doesn't need Howard!
Yeah.
Which is great advice, actually.
They spot a giant footprint, and Howard goes into the footprint and is like, and I thought my feet were big. And I was like, I don't need to hear about the size of your dick, Howard. Crickets. Crickets.
Yeah, so the footprint belongs to Gareth, who, according to Xena, is the worst. He's on the way.
I guess he read that sign about where Laurel.
I guess.
Minya is reading Gabrielle's scroll, which is great because she already said she can read, and I like how she's reading it not awesomely, but like competently. And of course, Gabrielle behind her is like mouthing along.
That's who Gabrielle is right there.
Xena comes back, and she knows she can no longer use the mirror plan.
Because the weather is real bad.
Yeah, because they need, like, the sun for the helmet to come off. So Minya recounts the plot of the Giant Killer, because she just read it recently in the scrolls. And they're like, oh, Zeus killed giants with lightning bolts. How do we do that? And Xena comes up with an idea. An original idea, finally.
One of Xena's many inventions.
How does Xena know that metal attracts lightning?
She's the
She
smartest.
just knows. Okay, she just knows.
She conducted some experiments. She, like,
10 years ago.
pals with Ben Franklin from the future.
In a reincarnated state, maybe.
How does she know about anything she invents, Olivia?
That's true.
It's just, she just feels it out. It's just, she feels it in
right.
her soul.
She's like, maybe she saw, like, a weather vane that got struck by some lightning, and she was like,
Next title card is Trial and Error, and this is where Xena invents the kite.
She does not have a word for it, but it is certainly a kite.
And then, like, this Hercules music plays again.
Yeah, I think because when she
flies?
first throws the kite and it appears to have taken flight, there's like this grandiose, like, da 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 da, it's so beautiful, and then it crashes. And I love that actually this is a moment where everybody thinks that Xena isn't that impressive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, I think she's lost her mind. Gabrielle's like, I don't share your vision here.
Yeah, that was so cute. And there's like continuous scenes of her running with it and trying to like throw it, and it crashes, keeps crashing.
We've all been there. We've all seen perfectly impressive people make fools of themselves trying to get a kite in the air.
Have we?
Apparently we have. And then like side note, but if this was an episode that was like supposed to be fight light for Lucy, I mean, she was like using a lot of upper body strength to throw that kite and like kind of running along with it.
I don't understand the production of anything anymore.
Totally, like, she sells all the physical stuff this episode. I mean, obviously it's created in part to give her a break so she can recover.
Yeah, and obviously there's a lot of like cutaways and you know, stand-ins and stunt people use.
But she sells it. I mean, you see just how like she's throwing herself.
That was
things.
her throwing that kite. Like, there's no trickery there.
Yeah, she is certainly not at all stiff, not at all tender. So amazing. Like just how far she's come in how, you know, a very brief amount of time.
She leaves the kite in Gabrielle's hands.
Yes, well, yes. My note here is wee adorable. I mean, it's just really cute all the time when you have cute people showing someone else how to do things and you have to get like fairly close up to the other person to show them how to do it, which is really cute.
Really long.
They get it in the air.
Yeah.
It is really cute. Yeah.
And there's like that great crane shot. With it.
Yeah.
And you realize that probably it's just a string tied to the crane. But it's still fabulous. Yeah.
And Gabrielle drops the string. Sad.
But then, you know, comedically runs after it.
Yeah.
Xena goes to talk to Howard while this is happening to finally like talk some sense into him, right? He's brushing down Argo. And like annoyingly just does not accept it, and that is kind of the worst.
No. Listen,
he's
please.
He's a nice guy.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
Stereotypical nice guy.
I mean, yeah, I guess so.
I mean, I did not like that moment. I don't like when, you know, somebody does not take no for an answer like that.
Yeah.
That was a little bit like uncomfortable.
I think you're right to not like that, Vera. That's not okay.
That is not okay. Xena leaves the barn. And Gabrielle comes flying down from the roof at her, trying to, you know, surprise her with her continuous gag.
And this is great because it's all done in a single shot. So, way to go selling a big stunt.
Yeah.
Which is, you see Renee O'Connor on the roof kind of hiding. A stunt woman comes flying out and, like, crashes to the floor. And then Renee stands up.
Yeah.
So it's smart. It's really well done.
Yeah.
She really missed.
Yeah, well, Xena sidesteps big time, and then, you know, the coming back up is they all, I need to grab onto something to get up. What could it be? Oh, it's Xena's boob.
What was the ground like that Xena just let her
I know,
plummet?
Right?
Like, it was pretty high. It's fine. Whatever. Yeah, well, then Xena's like, yes, you would. to her being like, I would have gotten you if I didn't do the war cry, but just that sarcastic, you know, oh yeah, you would have totally got me. So good.
And then this single shot ends on a goat when we wipe out.
Greatest of all time.
Yeah, all the goat shots are amazing in this one. Xena gives Minya advice on how to get Howard back, which, as you mentioned before, is a makeover to get her to look more leathered up, more Xena-esque.
Yeah, I called it the Barbarella makeover.
Legit. Off screen, you can hear Zagas' army being attacked by Gareth. And Xena also reminds us that she used to be buds with Goliath, and Gareth is his, like, worst enemy.
Because he killed his family.
Yeah.
Giant stuff.
Yeah. Giant feels. Next title card, waiting for Gareth.
They wait for him for a really long time. And I really liked this detail about how they're ready to go. They have this plan. But again, we're in this episode about mundane things. And yeah, they have to sit around and wait to be able to do anything. So Xena's just kind of sitting there throwing the chakram around.
Yeah, for the lulz. Amazing sitting. Like,
oh, yeah.
Amazing. And it's really funny because it's like casual chakraming.
Which I think is how all of us fantasize about throwing the chakram, that you just hang out and throw it and it would be really fun. Yeah. And you could also, like, in the just close-up of Lucy throwing it. You know, you see her throw it to screen left, and then it comes back from screen right, and it's really fun to imagine how they were doing that on set. That, like, she'd throw one to the left, and someone would throw one at her from the right. And
I also really love because she does it twice, and like the first time you see what's going on, which is like you see the chakram hits, but then the second time is just straight on her, and you know she's like following it into the 4 points.
Yeah,
it was just really funny. So I mean, obviously they're waiting for Gareth, and like the explanation is that there's a giant burial ground nearby, of course,
because they have to write in that burial ground to the episode because it's footage from a previous episode where that burial ground was established.
It's true, but you know, in this new context, I like that the giant would go, even a really bad one, like the worst, Gareth, would go visit the burial ground.
That's true.
It's kind of nice.
It's like how elephants mourn their dead.
Too sad.
Oh. I believe this is the moment where things very briefly get serious.
When Zagreus comes running in?
Yeah, when Zagreus comes running in Mad Max style.
Yeah, I leapt ahead. Nope.
I think that was very serious.
I mean, it's pretty great.
This guy almost runs away with the episode.
Kind of.
Yeah.
He is a delight.
This is what, like, the two acting styles of, like, the Warlord goons, where some of them are serious, and then some of them really up it.
Some of them are in the original Mad Max.
Oh, okay.
That's what he
style.
Felt like to me.
not actually.
Oh, I was like, okay, it made sense to me. I was like, Australia? All right, sure, he was.
Could be.
Maybe as a smaller person. No, just the look, the whole look.
Yeah.
And the very just wacky, wild yelling and acting. That's the whole of those first few original ones. Just like, what? When you're watching it, that's how I feel. You feel kind of just nuts looking at it.
I just love that he was at his wit's end. Like, that was a Warlord at wit's end. It was amazing.
Yeah, and I love that he just comes in at that pitch, the pitch of wit's end, and sustains it for the entire scene. Like, it's like a monologue of hysteria. And it's so funny. It's honestly really funny, and I felt sad when he got killed.
Yeah, I think my favorite way that he...
killed?
Does he?
Did he not get killed?
He gets knocked out.
Oh, okay. Maybe they felt they couldn't kill him.
Because he's so great.
Too much fun.
I just love the way he describes how, like Xena foils everything with, quote, your fists and your little tricks. It's great.
Yeah, and then he sees Minya and he's like, another one!
Right, Minya takes him down. So, of course, he's not killed. Minya doesn't
Minya punches him.
Yeah, this is where she has the outfit.
Minya takes him out. Howard sees that and is immediately like, oh, I love you. And again, I was like, leave him so fast.
Yeah,
like,
if all this guy really cares about is like a Barbarella costume, that is not a serious
He's clearly not respecting Minya for her ability to read, etc.
Her amazing taking care of the goats.
Yeah. I mean, she just deserves so much better than Howard.
And then meanwhile, Xena has a conversation with Gabs that turns abruptly actually deadly serious. Which is that she says that Gabs should go make sure that Minya and Howard are taken to safety because she doesn't want them to die for a lost cause.
Oh my god.
Like, it is such a shocking moment in this otherwise very light episode. So I like that. And I like that, this is the first time really in a long time that we've seen Gabrielle and Xena like have a really serious conversation that doesn't involve the frying pan.
But it does.
But actually, it does involve the frying pan.
Now it involves the whip.
The real issue now is toilet paper scrolls versus whip.
Yeah. So Gabs apologizes for trading the whip, and Xena apologizes for using the scrolls as DP. Again, reminding you that previously in the episode she took a shit and used the scrolls to wipe her butt.
But now it's serious and they might die, so they should apologize about it.
Yeah.
And she says we're even though Xena can get a new whip, but can Gabrielle replace that lost story material that Xena wiped her ass
I think
with?
she can. It was like really a tiny corner. To be fair, she could probably read what the beginning of those sentences were. To be honest, I think she can recreate those lines.
She'll always have those niggling doubts, like, is this second version as good as the first?
Then we have like the entirety of the giant killer ending,
which
now
is tacked in
episode.
And I don't know that you can necessarily feel it per se, but it's just kind of where my brain wanders a little, because I'm used to watching an episode about their mundane reality, and now I'm like, ugh, long giant fight.
You know, going along with that, it is shot very differently. We have Michael Hurst with his handheld close camera, and now we suddenly have these static wide shots. It does feel different, though they do a tremendous job of making it fit.
Yeah, I think there's probably like stuff that they filmed to sort of, buffer it with, to feel like a new episode, basically. And of course, like, Xena takes out Gareth via the kite and the lightning, and she's like, the Lannisters say hello.
I knew you were gonna make that joke. You're so obvious.
And okay, guys, I think it was really good to have the conclusion of Goliath's storyline here, because it was such a dilemma for her before, he never got the closure, and now she felt bad for killing him, and this is like a good way for herself to get some closure. So
maybe this makes up for the fact that she turns her killing of a long line of people into a guessing game.
This is like, number 59.
Yeah, so now she's like, well, at least, one of those guys I killed, I've let his soul be at peace.
Now it's nighttime. The final title card is Going to Bed.
We have reached the end of a day of the life.
Yeah. And Xena and Gabrielle are stargazing.
Gazing.
Oh!
For gazing!
They're inventing, like, constellations?
Yeah. They are kind of inventing them, I guess. When are constellations invented?
That's true. That is ancient times. Yeah.
The Greeks
but
did
they
it.
seem like they're like, oh, that one looks like a dipper. And then...
Babs is like, what's a dipper?
Yeah.
What?
I feel like she would know that because she's really into, like, kitchen utensils.
Yeah. This has been a whole episode where she's been very preoccupied with kitchen items.
She would know what a dipper is.
Yeah, but that's really sweet that they don't have the words for these things that are very familiar to us.
But I also really love what it says about each one of them, because one sees like this practical thing, and then Xena sees the practical thing, and then Gabrielle sees like the cute, like inventive.
More fantastical.
More fantastical.
Have we noted the fact that they are sharing a blanket?
Earlier,
we have.
In the episode.
But now we're unpinning it.
Here.
I believe there was a pin.
Yeah.
And now it's unpinned.
Take out that pin.
That was really important. Like, I do think that, what was it? Return of Callisto, we noted the last time that they were not on the same bed.
No, they didn't even really sleep that close to each other.
Yeah, in the reality, they were like flipped.
Yeah.
Totally. Not anymore.
No.
One big bedroll.
And then, of course, one last good effort by Gabrielle. She smacks Xena right in the nose.
Dead in the face with the staff.
That was so cute.
Oh my god, it's so cute. It's ridiculously cute. Gabrielle immediately is so apologetic.
Yeah.
Like, she's finally done it.
Yeah.
The thing that she's been trying to do the whole episode. Injure Xena, I guess.
In a cute way.
I don't know exactly. And partly she's like, never expected to do it, I think, is part of the thing. So she's like, I'm sorry, oh my god, freaking out. And Xena's just like, now just turned into like the biggest grumpy cat. And it's just like, I'll live. And, turns her back to her.
No, she goes on the side.
Like, just go to sleep now.
And I like how her lines are delivered like with a nasally quality now. She got hit in the nose.
And she's like, rubbing her nose a little bit.
Really cute.
Even though if you watch it again, she got hit in the forehead.
Yeah.
Stop nitpicking.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry. Just her face, just the bridge.
I saw fans on the internet speculating that that's how you know she wasn't really hit for real.
Oh, I see.
She's holding the wrong part of her body.
No, she got her in the face. It's not that. That's not the thing. She did get hit in the face.
But is she like playing it up? Like, oh, you got me, it hurt.
Fans on the internet also said they weren't in the same room filming that kiss from last week.
Which is not at all
We don't
true.
listen to fans on that.
Yes, we do. Sometimes. I just love the way after Xena rolls away from Gabrielle, she's like leaning over her. You just have a long pause of adorable face Gabrielle just like staring lovingly down at Xena for a while before she gives her little goodnight peck on the cheek, which is or forehead.
No, it was a cheek, sort of like cheekbone. And it was like Xena's reaction is ridiculous.
Just, hey,
so cute. It's a really great moment. It is maybe like the best moment of this whole episode. Just the cuteness, reality of it.
Everything about it feels so spontaneous, which I think is partially the acting and partially the writing. It's just really natural, all of it. It doesn't feel like we're being cute for cuteness sake. It really just feels rooted in who these characters are. Like Xena kind of regressing back to Grumpy Cat.
Yeah.
Like, that is so Xena.
And like just not having the affection right now after being smacked in the face.
Yeah.
That's why the grumpy hey.
Yeah, we're gonna make
and not because she just doesn't like being kissed by Gabrielle, to just
we
continue the thread.
They definitely kiss a lot, but only when Xena wants to.
Exactly. Yeah, you gotta make it work.
Now you say this is hurt comfort.
Oh.
No. No, they do plenty of that. So.
It's still to come.
Now the question is that Gabrielle brings up herself, did Xena let her hit her?
I think that is something that Xena would say, like going along with Gabrielle all of a sudden being like, hey. I think that if she really did get hit in the face, she would want to make Gabrielle think that she let her get hit in the face. So I think Gabrielle really hit her in the face. She looked really fucking surprised.
I also think she actually hit her.
Yeah, like, and so that was her way of kind of getting her back. Just having the lingering doubt.
She trusts her. She really lets her guard down.
Exactly.
But also Gabrielle slowly, stepping up and progressing in her development. it's happening.
Better speed and agility.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just definitely more satisfying if this was, because it's such a harmless little moment, and it's so cute that it's nice to have her get hit in the face by Gabrielle.
It is nice. She wiped her ass with the scroll.
Never forget.
Never.
Really bad. But again, it was only a little tiny piece.
You're a Xena apologist.
Well, there you have it.
Yeah.
We did A Day in the Life, which is an amazing episode.
It's certainly my favorite of the comedic episodes of Xena.
Yeah, and it's just such an easy one to just always put on, and it's just a really great recruiter episode.
It's really like influential. You feel like this version of the characters pops up in the show more and more and more. Like it becomes kind of a recognizable form. In a way, these are who they really are, and you really see that on the show moving forward.
Can you think of other shows that sort of have an episode like this? This is not a new invention. I don't think we can say Xena did it first at all. But I'm just trying to think of like other shows besides the X-Files.
I think that there were back when you had longer seasons, you had more room to kind of do funny things that didn't really affect the overall plot, but like were really more focused on character stuff. Like, I don't know, like any kind of Star Trek holodeck episode, which to me, actually, we didn't really talk about fandom in this way, because the episode is not doing this whatsoever, but this just kind of reminds me of like the nice fluffy fic that you'd want to read that fills out, stuff about characters that you normally don't see. Like just that goes really into detail, filling out things about their lives, and it's just really nice and sweet. And adorable and has kissing.
It is a fluff episode.
Yeah,
the fandom category known as fluff.
I was thinking of the X-Files, and I was like, oh, the episode that is definitely like this is Detour, where they're trying to get to like a mandatory, I don't know,
like a corporate retreat.
Yeah, corporate retreat with some other agents, and so they're like in a car on a road trip, and then they happen upon like the plot of the episode. But really, the answer is Arcadia. Like that is this, where they pretend to be married in a suburban house.
Oh yeah,
like that is what this is.
Well, Well, like in a larger sense, like, you know, the fact that you do have comedy episodes of The X-Files where there's a very specific, like, characterization for Mulder and Scully, which usually involves this kind of bickering and goofiness. Like, that's very Xena and Gabrielle. So you do see some I'm not sure in which way influence traveled there, but it's very noticeable that you have these actually very, you know, serious, stoic characters who unexpectedly loosen up in a particular kind of episode.
Yeah.
Oh, we definitely love it.
Greatest of all time.
Goats. Yeah, no, I love it. And I love that it, you know, we talked about it a lot, but I love that we finally have Minya introduced, because I feel like she's always really fun when she comes back in a few more episodes.
That one is what I like. That one. The next one with Minya.
Which is the next one? Remind me.
That I can remember, I think she turns up in Gabrielle's play.
The play one? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thespians.
Yay.
So you can follow us on all the things.
Yay. We are on iTunes. Please subscribe. And if you are enjoying what you are listening to, please rate and leave a review. Those are always great. And they help other people find the podcast. We are on Twitter at Xena Warrior Pod. Follow us there. Tumblr and Facebook at Xena Warrior Podcast. Fun stuff on all of those places. Follow us, subscribe, all that jazz. Excellent.
The power.
The passion.
The podcast.